along with Kevin V3BZ, and we will be your net control for the Saturday Night Trivia Net and number 88. This is a direct-to-net, so all traffic should go through net control. Does anyone have any emergency traffic they were holding until the start of the net? If so, please come now. The format of the net is live trivia. One random question will be read over the air to each person who checks in. You'll have 3 answers to select from. And the question of the night that we do before we get to your actual question is, what's the most adventurous thing you've done? The most adventurous thing you've ever done in your life, if any. All right, let's see what in so far. And via the text line, we have German George in Scottsdale, Arizona. Actually, he came in via email. He's checked in. JR2 actually in Kawagoe, Japan. N6MOT Laval in Monterey, California. KK7HLD. Dave in Portland. KN6MIK Mike, San Diego. KZ4DJC. Donald in Huntsville, Alabama. KD6EIR, West in Grants Pass, Oregon. K8BYU, Roy in Blasdell, New York. VK2DY, Robert, Kelly Ridge, Australia. And W2AJR, Andy, Cheektowaga, New York. KC2JPQ, Frank in Lancaster, New York. KN6JLW and KN6JLX, Larry and Stephanie in Elk Grove, California. N7JPS, Joe in Sparks, Nevada. And KK7AVK, Victoria in Phoenix, Arizona. Anyone else like to check in? Full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Victor Echo 3, Romeo Whiskey, Juliet.
Kilo 7, Oscar Golf Charlie, KH7OGC. Kilo Charlie 2, Kilo Hotel Tango.
Quebec 4, Foxtrot Hotel Echo. Quebec 4, Foxtrot Hotel Echo.
Kilo Foxtrot 6 Hotel Delta Juliet. Kilo Foxtrot 6 Hotel Delta Juliet.
LEL, Kilo, Quebec 4, Lima, Echo Lima.
Okay, it's full there. I think that's a good start. Also checking in was Chris in Ancaster, Ontario, Canada, VE3RWJ. Welcome back, Chris. Fred in Reno, KK7OGC. Henry in East Islip, New York, KC2KHT. Pat in Harvest, Alabama, KQ4 FHE. KF6HTJ, Brent in Pensacola, Florida, and KQ4LEL Mari in DeBari, Florida. Okay, looks like everybody's in. Good start. Question of the night, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? And we'll go to George in Kawagoe, Japan, JR2FJI.
Well, howdy there, mate. I just heard JR2FJI. I didn't hear the general question here, so I'm sorry for that, because I'm in the upper floor, not the 13th, but on the 6th floor in the department store here, taking a good rest. So, what is your question? Over to you, Alex.
Tell the people walking by you're talking to people in America. It's pretty interesting on HD. George, the question of the night is, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? Now, I know you've done a lot of adventurous things, George, but what's the most adventurous one?
The most what have I done? What have I seen? What have I witnessed? I mean, UFO, orbs, and even here, you're going to laugh, but even a little gray one, I've seen it. When I was a child, I've seen it. But I always kept quiet, never talked about it. And then, as I said before, the guy who disappears in front of my eyes like they live, you know. But what have I done? I think when I was in Malaysia in the jungle with the French guy who escaped from the Legionnaires, we just wanted to go there for a few days, but the canoe that took us into the river, into the jungle, never came back to us. So we started walking, and we were in there for 3 months, almost died. I mean, it was horrific. I just don't want to remember it. It was a nightmare, being stuck in a jungle. We just luckily made it out of it. That's about it. Over to you, Alex.
Well, I hope there's at least plenty to eat. Okay. Stuck in the jungle. I think there's a song like that. All right, Georgie, your actual question tonight is, this beverage is actually good for horses. It's good for horses. Is that A, wine, B, beer, or C, a Kentucky mule? Which one, George?
Well, I guess Americans would say Kentucky Mule. But I think it's beer, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll go with beer, although I prefer red wine, but yeah, beer. As always, thanks for doing the net hours, Alex, and say howdy to everyone else there. JR2FTI, Porter 1, back to net control.
Thank you, George. And that's it. Beer is actually good for horses. It contains vitamins that are good for their skin. Yeast, that's good for their gut biome. And barley, that's hydration. And horse have a liver enzyme that prevents them from getting drunk. So it's, they can drink it no problem. You know, in medieval times, people used to attach a lamp to a horse when riding at night. And this is the earliest known form of satellite navigation. More interesting facts on the trivia net. Thanks, George. Little Al in Monterey, California, N6MOT. Little Al, your most adventurous thing you've done other than marrying your current wife?
Oh, yeah, really. Marrying my second one. That would be even more adventurous. Well, can't say it on the radio, but I'm deathly afraid of heights. I mean, I'm scared of heights. So, on my honeymoon to my current wife, she got me to go paragliding, you know, where they tow you behind the boat and drag you around all over the place. And they let you go way up in the sky. I was up there like just, anyway, I was scared, but I did it, and it was actually okay. And I thought they were bringing us down. All they did was dunk us in the water and put us back up again. But anyway, it had my heart going pretty good. And that was pretty adventurous, I would say. For me, anyway. Anyway, ready for the question. Thanks, Alex.
Well, my only question, Lalo, is did she take out an insurance policy on you before that? And that's, I would be looking at that if I were you. All right, your question is, okay, Little Al, I'm sad to say I'm on my way. I won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my head is turning around. A, I had to leave a senorita in El Paso town. B, I had to leave a little girl in Kingston town. Or C, I left her at the altar in her wedding gown. Which is the correct lyric?
I'm just going to roll the dice and go with A, left a little girl in El Paso town. Anyway, that's it, Alex. Thanks for the question. It's a great net as always. And 7-3 N6MOT out here in Monterey.
Yeah, that wasn't the Senorita. That was another Marty Robbins song. It was Had to Leave a Little Girl in Kingston Town. It's from the song Jamaica Farewell by Harry Belafonte, although Marty Robbins also sang it, as did Johnny Cash, but it goes back a ways. So thanks a lot. Guys, you can make it, buddy. Let's go to Dave in Portland, KK7HLD. Dave, the most adventurous thing you've done?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Don't know how adventurous I am. I guess I've gone over 130 miles an hour on the freeway. I've jumped off of bridges, not necessarily dangerously high, but yeah, I actually drove in downtown Portland. So I don't know. Could be any of those. Over to you there for my question, please, Alex. It's great to hear you again, by the way.
Well, it's okay, Dave. We'll take going across the street to get a pack of cigarettes. I mean, we'll take anything, but that'll work. We put you down for speeding, because I think you did that in a couple of instances. But all right, your question is, in which city is Jim Morrison of the Doors buried? Is that A, Los Angeles, B, Paris, or C, none, he's still alive? He moved to South Carolina and is now amateur radio operator at K4 Oscar November Papa. Don't pester him, though. He's trying to remain incognito. Well, what do you say there, Dave?
Man, well, I gotta say, I can't do it. No matter how I want to say C, I can't do it. I'm gonna have to say Paris, because I can. Another one of those places that they have had hard times with destruction of property from quote unquote anyways, people. All right, you have a great day, and thanks for the great net, man. See you next week. KK7HLD.
Dave, when my daughter was a teenager, I got in an argument with her one time over her taste in music, and she knew I was a Doors fan, so she said, "Oh yeah, and Jim Morrison sucks." I told her, "Young lady, there'll be no slamming the doors in this house." You're correct. Yeah, it's Paris. He's buried in Paris. And the funny thing is about K4 Oscar November Papa, said his name is Jim Morrison. He has the same middle initial as Jim Morrison, and he was born a year before Jim Morrison, so maybe it is him. Thanks, Dave. Mike, San Diego, KN6, MIK, most adventurous thing you've done other than living in San Diego?
Good evening, Alex. KN6 MIK. Mike here in San Diego. Well, I was going to pick up some of my job duties when I was a young man, climbing towers and structures, but probably the craziest thing I did, me and a coworker, and we went into the hills of Bakersfield and went into an old abandoned silver mine. I don't know how many 100 yards we got crawling around in there, and then after a while we hit an open spot, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and we came to the conclusion, what in the hell are we doing? So we exited in a quick manner. Go ahead, Alex, I'll take my question.
Yeah, I've seen those hills up there. I didn't realize there was mines in there too. I guess there would be. A lot in Arizona too, western Arizona. We've done that. Although they closed a lot of them up. You can't go in there now because the nanny state wants to keep you safe, and maybe for some people that's all right. All right, Mike. Your question is, how is the NHL championship decided? The NHL, the National Hockey League. A, best of 3 series, B, best of 7 series, or C, with loaded weapons after the Canadians booed our national anthem? Which is it, Mike?
That's a great question. If you saw the opening of one of the hockey games on Canada the other night, they fought for 10 minutes before the game even started. It was great. I'm going to go with B for Bravo there. Alex, always a pleasure. KN6MIK, back to you.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't notice either because I don't follow hockey, but yeah, it's the best of 7 series is how it's decided. And yeah, that was nice though that they let the Canadians win that last one. I thought that was very generous of them. It was good sportsmanship of our Canadian or our hockey team to let the Canadians win. So thanks, Mike. Donald, Huntsville, Alabama, K7. Do you have any Canadian stations on here? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, the logger is a Canadian. Donald in Huntsville, Alabama, KZ4DJC. How you doing? What's the most adventurous thing you've done? Maybe he's a Maple Leafs fan. Don, Huntsville, Alabama, KZ4DJC. Are you there? Okay, maybe later. Let's go to Wes in Grants Pass, Oregon, KD6EIR. Wes, the most adventurous thing, playing to a room full of intoxicated people. This thing working? KD6EIR, Wes in Grants Pass.
We are hearing you. You are getting out.
That's okay. This happens sometimes. Probably pick them up later. Clears up a little bit. Let's go to Roy in Blasdell, New York, KA8BYU.
New York, everybody on the Cheviet, KA8BYU. I would say the most adventurous thing is when I was in the one organization I belonged to for 25 years, rappelling down a cliff during a survival course, because I'm not a fan of heights either.
We did have Boy Scouts, but it never. I don't know, the parents kind of freaked out. I thought it was cool as all get out, but anyway, yeah, we didn't. All right, Roy, your question is, oh, here we are. 25% of Americans think that this fictional character is real. Who would that be? A, the Easter Bunny, B, Sherlock Holmes, or C, Gordon West?
Or Jesus.
B, because with my last name, I have also been asked several times if he's a relative.
Yeah, the guy's amazing, isn't he? He's like a Gordon West anyway. He's like an android. goes to all these ham fests, never runs out of energy. It's kind of like Trump, I guess. Sherlock Holmes is correct. Yeah, you got it. Thanks, Roy. Yeah, no, you're related to Sherlock Holmes. How do you answer a question like that? You probably have fun with it. I'll tell you what. Thank you, Roy. Robert, Kelly Ridge, Australia, VK2DY. Most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Good afternoon, Alex. I have to think about these things. I guess there's no legal ramifications for anything at this late date, but I have done my share of travel in interesting locations. But back in the 80s, I did an incredibly stupid thing. I was doing archaeology in Syria, and I had to see Baalbek in Lebanon. Now, Lebanon in the 80s was in the middle of a civil war. Baalbek was not a particularly friendly city towards Westerners, but I somehow managed to get a taxi to take me into Lebanon and see Baalbek and get back out. And I think that was one of the many times that I missed becoming a news story. But sneaking into Lebanon, seeing an archaeological site, and sneaking back out probably qualifies. VK2DY.
Yeah, I remember that back then. They showing Beirut and the people that are blamed for that are going to be called to task here soon. We're hoping anyway. The real people that are to blame for all that Mideast mess. Okay, Robert, your question is, let's see. Oh, in Tennessee, it is illegal to drive if you're A, under 18, B, asleep, or C, using a putter.
Could you repeat those again for me? Thank you.
I don't have any blue Australian laws tonight, but I do have a blue law from Tennessee. It is illegal to drive if you're A, under 18, B, asleep, or C, using a putter. The way I golf, it wouldn't matter.
I went for the more ridiculous one last week, so let's go for the little bit less ridiculous one, asleep. VK2DY.
The odd thing is that they would think it would be necessary to have a law that says you can't. But yeah, it's, hey, let's write this into the books. Can't drive when you're asleep. All right, good. Thanks, Robert, you got it. This is W7 FTM in Scottsdale, Arizona. You're listening to the Saturday Night Trivia Net on the East Coast Reflector. And going next to Andy in Cheektowaga, New York, W2AJR. Andy, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Thanks, everybody on the net. Well, I've soloed a hang glider, an ultralight aircraft, and a tow behind glider. That's pretty adventurous. Back to you.
You know, I've always wanted to try a hang glider, and I should have done it when I was younger and could a little more flexible. I probably wouldn't want to do it now, but good one, Sandy. All right, your question is, this actor's obituary says that he died in a hospital, a large building with patients in it. Is that A, Robin Williams, B, Leslie Nielsen, or C, Alec Guinness?
Something from Airplane. A hospital. What is this? A big building with sick people. Is Leslie Nielsen dead? Boy, I don't know. I'll say Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago. A great, great actor. Boy, he could play comedy and drama both. Remember Forbidden Planet, I think it was, with the, played the, anyway. Okay, thank you very much, Andy. Let's go to Frank in Lancaster, New York, KC2 JPQ. Question of the night: what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex. Years ago, went to Lake Placid for the Olympic training area, and you get a ski lift ride up the mountain, up Whiteface Mountain, where they do the Olympic skiing. And you got to take two ski lifts. The first one, you go up about a 45-degree angle, which isn't terrible. Then you walk over. The second one, you go up about 60-degree angle. You're looking down at pine trees, 100-foot pine trees, and you're about 50 feet higher than them. So it's kind of nerve-wracking, and you're in an open cage seat. So, yeah, I'm not good at heights, so that was kind of crazy. Ready for my question. Back to you, Alex.
Yeah, my wife and I went up the ski lift at Snowball there, that goes to the top of Mount Humphreys Peak, Flagstaff, about 12,000 feet. That was enough for us. We took it back down to. All right, your question, Frank, is every year there's 1 ton of this poured for every person on the planet. 1 ton. Is that A, cement, B, beer, or C?
Alex, you cut out on C. Could you just give me the choices again, please?
Dang, government's jamming me again. Yes, 1 ton of this poured for every person on the planet every year. A, cement, B, beer, or C, political BS.
Well, I'm tempted to go with C, but I'm going to say I think it's the cement. And great talking to you, Alex. I'll talk to you next week. Have a good week. KC2 JPQ.
You got it, Frank. I would have been tempted to say beer, but, well, actually, I may have given you C just because there's no way to really measure that. But, yes, cement. It's cement. 1 ton of cement poured for every person on the planet every year. So, Thank you, Frank. Stephanie and Larry in Elk Grove, California, KN6JLW and KN6. Did I get that right? Yeah, JLX. Hey, guys, what's the most adventurous thing you've done, separately or as a couple? Stephanie and Larry, Elk Grove, California, KN6JLW, KN6JLX. Okay, we'll try you guys later. Did we lose the West Coast? I'm starting to wonder here. Okay. Joseph, Sparks, Nevada, N7JPS. How you doing? What's the most adventurous thing you've done? KK7JPS, Joe in Sparks, Nevada. Okay, maybe later. Victoria, Phoenix, Arizona, KK7AVK. Hello, Victoria. What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex. This is Victoria, KK7AVK. I think probably the most adventurous thing that I've done was when I went back to Bulgaria just for a day to take my cat here to the United States. And also, at that time, I was living in Beaverton, Oregon, and my cat at the time, that was a little kitten, to travel as little as possible in an airplane. And so I actually bought the ticket from Seattle just to make it only 2 airplane travels. And then from Seattle, I drove back to Beaverton, Oregon. So that was the most adventurous, I think.
Remember, folks, that was to rescue a cat. Now, that's dedication and an animal lover. All right, Victoria, your question is, where was fried chicken invented? Well, or created, whatever. Where was fried chicken invented? Was it A, South Carolina, B, Georgia, or C, Scotland?
Well, I'm going to go with Charlie this time, which may be a very unusual place that we don't associate fried chicken with, but let's go with Charlie. Thanks, Alex, and have a great evening. KK7AVK, back to net.
Yep, that's the place. Fried chicken was invented in Scotland. Obviously, that's where the chicken McNugget is. Yeah, thanks, Victoria, you got it. Chris, Astor, Ontario. 83RWJ, Chris. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Hey, Alex. Thanks for doing the net. As always, we all need a good chuckle out here these days. Well, I'm totally blind, and I did go downhill skiing in, I think it was grade 11 gym class. And I did pretty well. I passed some people that had crashed, and they were complaining loudly as I went by, which was very, very nice to hear.
Well, that would be a challenge. I know a lot of people drive blind, at least out here in Arizona, but that skiing, I know Sonny Bono was an excellent skier, and he could see, but somehow managed into a tree. That, of course, is another conspiracy. Anyway, thanks, Chris. Got you down for blind skiing. Your question is, in a smell test, researchers identified the 2 scents that women find most alluring are A, money and cherry wine, B, cucumbers and good and plenty candy, or C, beer and old amateur radio operators. What do women find most alluring smell-wise?
I'm going to try B, Bravo.
Yep. Sorry, guys, it wasn't C. Yeah, cucumbers and good and plenty candy. You didn't actually research this. Was the 2 scents that women find the most alluring. So take the cucumber out of and put it in your pocket along with the good and plenty. Thanks. Thank you, Chris. Fred in Reno, Nevada, KK70GC. Fred, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
everyone on the net, KK70GC, Fred in Reno. Yes, I'm going to represent the West Coast. Probably driving across country. Back in the 80s, I was transferred from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, out to California, and they wanted me out there in 3 days, and I took 2 weeks with my cat and the dump box in the back seat and went to Tijuana as well. So anyway, that was an adventure.
Good Lord, Pittsburgh to California in 3 days? Yeah, that would do it. You were with the Cannonball Run, were you? That would have been, anyway, that's, glad you made it and got the cat and stopped off in Tijuana for a little bit of whatever it was. All right, Fred, your question is, 27% of Americans have done this. 27%. A, addressed a relative by the wrong gender. B, cut off contact with a family member. C, answer A. Or C, entered a casino and bet it all on red. What have 27% of Americans done?
Well, I'm in the gaming industry, so I'm going to go with Charlie on that one. KK70GC.
I see, if you're really adventurous, you'd bet it on green, but it's, now it's 27% of Americans have cut off contact with a family member, especially the past couple of presidential elections. That seems to be very common these days and very necessary. It saves a lot of problems at the Thanksgiving dinner table anyway. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate you being there, buddy. It's the W7 FTM in Scottsdale, Arizona, going next to Henry in East Islip, New York, KC2KHT. The most adventurous thing you've done there, Henry.
Yes, hi. This is Henry, KC2KHT. Actually, it's awesome. One is I quit school and joined the military. I joined the Coast Guard back in '68, where you knew you were going in sooner or later because of the Vietnam War. And the second thing was I bought a 14-foot sailboat with no boating experience, taught myself how to sail. And, that was a bit, you think back on it now and I was just crazy doing that. But back to you for my question.
Yeah, the sailing is something I wanted to do. I just, we have lakes out here, man-made lakes, and there's not really much wind, so it wouldn't make much sense. I'm glad you had an opportunity to do that. And your question is, to waterproof leather footwear, A, smear petroleum jelly onto the seams and bake them in the oven at 300 degrees for an hour. Smear baking grease into the seams and put them in the freezer overnight. Or C, wrap them in coax seal, flexible paper.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little trouble here with the connection. I'm starting to get a noisy thing. But I'm going to go with A. That petroleum jelly does a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go back to answer A, KC2KHT.
No problem. The facilitators are about ready to take care of that Florida interference, and you're correct. Yeah, it's Do waterproof leather footwear, smear petroleum jelly under the seams and bake them in the degrees for an hour. But don't let your wife see you. I did that, and she thought that was odd. But, women are like that. Thanks, Henry. Pat in Harvest, Alabama, KQ4 FHE. Welcome back, Pat. Question of the night, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex, and everybody else on the net. This is KQ4 FHE. My most adventurous things was I slept in a cave one night with my son's Boy Scout troop. Back to you, Alex, for my question.
Oh, that's right. They got some good caves over there, too, especially in Kentucky in that area. So that would be fun. All right, Pat, your question is, Japan's Mitsubishi Motors once made an SUV they called the Pajero, but had to change the name when they found out that Pajero in Spanish means A, one who is stupid, B, one who breaks down, or C, one who pleasures himself. What does Pajero mean in Spanish?
I'm going to go with A, Alex.
Yeah, go to Google Translator, one of those, or maybe have it on your iPhone, another translation program. Enter Pagero, and you'll see it means, well, as they politely put it, one who pleasures himself. I think they use a term that begins with a W, but that's, anyway, that'd be kind of embarrassing, so I figure they better change the name of that SUV, although I don't see what for. Thanks, Pat. Glad you can make it. Brent, Pensacola, Florida, KF6HDJ. Brent, what's the most adventurous thing you've done in a Pajero or not?
Well, that wasn't me. Good evening, Alex. Good evening, Vicki, and the rest of the net. The most adventurous thing I've ever done, I would have to say, was bungee jumping off the Macau Tower. It's 722 feet. So back to you for my question.
Wow, and your spine and neck are okay. That's yeah, that's a good adventurous thing. Thank you, Brent. Your question is, why is a Three Musketeers candy bar called Three Musketeers? A, was named after author Alexander Dumas, and B, it originally came in 3 different flavors, or C, was originally eaten as a snack by French musket soldiers. What did Three Musketeers get its name from?
Hey, where are the white women at?
That definitely wasn't me. I'm going to go with B, Bravo. Kilo Fox 6, Hotel Delta Juliet.
Well, now, folks, this is a family net. If your family is the Bundy family, and you're correct. It originally came from 3 different flavors, it was called. It was vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate in the original Three Musketeers, and the first 2 were dropped when chocolate turned out to be the favorite, of course. So, yep, I think they're still around, aren't they? Thank you, Brent. Mari in DeBari, Florida, KQ4LEL. All right, Mari, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
I mean, I see this.
To the 70s, I was in college. I had a friend that had recently gotten instrument rating on his private pilot license. We took off in a Cessna 182 from Buffalo to Binghamton. That trip was fine. On the way back, it was a little dicey, dark, cold, and we started losing engine power and altitude until he discovered that he hadn't turned the carburetor heat on. It aged me quite a few years. Anyway, thank you, Alex. Question, please.
Oh, come on, Maury. You can do that standing on your head and losing. Yeah. All right, your question is, hang on a second. Here we go. I had to scroll down a little bit. You can increase your metabolic rate 12% when walking by A, not swinging your arms, B, not breathing through your mouth, or C, not taking your wife along with you. What do you think, Maury?
Alex, this is a guess, but I'm going to say not swinging your arms. KQ4, LEL, back to you.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? You would think that moving your arms too would increase your rate, but no, it's don't swing your arms, just walk. So you thanks, Maury. All right, Kason, Beaumont, Texas, KJ5HQI. Welcome back, buddy. Got you down on the text line. What's the most adventurous thing you've done so far, anyway?
Well, that's a hard question, but probably take my general test. I did that today, so that was pretty adventurous, I guess.
Hey, if you give the VEs a little bit of wine, that always... no, don't do that. I'm just kidding. And congratulations. Good going, man. We have General Kaysen with us now. Way to go, buddy. All right, your question is... a television psychologist, Dr. Phil, heard him, was once A, a convicted felon, B, a motocross racer, or C, a greeter at Walmart. What did Dr. Phil do before he became famous?
I'm going to go with, I don't know, let's see, probably B, Bravo.
And that's correct. Yeah, Dr. Phil used to be a motocross racer. Yeah, I have something in common with Dr. Phil. How about that? Yeah, actually, I think he would make a great Walmart greeter. You know, he's friendly to everybody and wouldn't care whether they had pants on or not. So, yeah, good for him. So thanks. You got it, Kason. Thanks for being there. Todd, Redstone Arsenal, Alabama. KN0LZE. How you doing, Todd? What's the most adventurous thing you've done other than living in a town with that name?
The most adventurous thing that I did, I was probably in high school. I lived in Colorado at the time, and my brother and I summited Long's Peak, which is one of several of the 14,000-plus foot peaks in Colorado. It's not the tallest peak. It is one of a handful that are considered to be technical, but that was quite an accomplishment. And perhaps now looking back at that, that was probably something I would not do, but I in my youth.
Oh yeah, I definitely hear you there, Todd. There's things we did in our youth. I think I was 10 years old when I lived in Flagstaff and I climbed Mount Eldon, which is 18,000 feet. I just told my parents, well, I'm going to go hike up the mountain, and they, we lived at the base of it. And they said, okay, come back for dinner. Come back in time for dinner. They didn't realize how steep it was near the top, and I just got my feet in the right and hands in the right holes and managed to get up to the almost to the summit, but they had it fenced off because there's transmitters up there, even back then in the 60s. So, well. Anyway, your question is, the town of Al-Samaha, Egypt, is unusual because A, only women live there, and B, it has the only tavern in the entire country, or C, it's one of the few Egyptian cities that Westerners can pronounce correctly. What do you say, Todd?
Could you repeat the name of the town? I had some interference there and I couldn't quite get it.
Yeah, it's Al-Samaha, S-A-M-A-H-A, Egypt. And it's unusual because of one of those three things. I'll repeat them if you need me.
Let me say, I'll go with A Alpha, and that was no females lived there.
Close enough, Todd. Actually, it's only there, and that's correct. Yeah, it was set up as a place for women to get help and support after their husbands either die or divorce them. According to Muslim law, they have a town they can go to. It's all female, and that's a hard question because any of those could have been correct. Actually, thanks, Todd. It's W7FTM in Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Saturday Night Trivia Net on the East Coast Reflector. Brian, Monticello, Kentucky, KK4JPW. Welcome back, Brian. What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex. This is Ned. I don't tend to be adventurous, no bungee jumping or anything of that sort. Probably the most adventurous, or certainly one of the more dumb things I ever did was attempt to shoot a 270 deer rifle without hearing protection, so couldn't hear anything but a high pitch for about 15 minutes. So basically learned my lesson without any permanent loss, but I guess that's about the craziest I've done.
Yeah, they learn, don't you? It's the first time I went to a shooting range was one of those in the basement of the gun store type shooting ranges, and I didn't have my ear protection on when the guy started unloading on it with a high-powered rifle, and you learn to fix that real quick. All right, your question is, Dafen, China, D-A-F-E-N, is known as the best place in the world to buy A, computer chips, B, a fake oil painting, or C, a corn dog to eat without the corn. What do you say, Brian?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to go, I guess, with A, Alpha, KA4JPW.
You would think with all the copying and swiping of technology it would be computer chips, but no, it's fake oil paintings. That's the kind of the capital of the world for a good fake oil painting. So if you want to impress somebody and you want a Rembrandt or a Da Vinci, just go there and you'll get a darn good copy. So thanks, Brian. All right, taking more check-ins now for the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Full call sign, phonetically twice, and we'll get you a question. Yeah, that's it. Come out.
This is November 7, Foxtrot Golf Papa. November 7, Foxtrot Golf Papa. Scott in Houston.
Whiskey Delta 8, Papa, India, Charlie. Whiskey Delta 8, Papa, India, Charlie.
Whiskey 9 Delta Whiskey Hotel. Whiskey 9 Delta Whiskey Hotel.
Kilo India 7 Lima Alpha Golf. Kilo India 7 Lima Alpha Golf.
Kilo India 5 Whiskey Whiskey Uniform. Kilo India 5 Whiskey Whiskey Uniform.
Echo India Romeo KD6 I5.
Kilo Juliet 5 Juliet X-Ray Victor. Kilo Juliet 5 Juliet X-Ray Victor.
Kilo Juliet 5 Juliet November Juliet. Kilo Juliet 5 Juliet November Juliet.
Okay, we'll hold it there. We have N7 FGP, Scott in Houston, welcome back, buddy. W8D8PIC, Bob in Slovenia, welcome back, Bob. W9DWH, David, Owensboro, Kentucky. KI7LAG, Patrick in Beaver. KI5WWU, Lynn in Houston. 86CIR, Wes in Grants Pass, glad you can make it in. We're going to take you first, Wes, since you tried to check in earlier. KJ5JXV, Chris in Lumberton, Texas, and KJ5JNJ and Justin in Conroe, Texas. All right, question of the night, what's the most adventurous thing you've done? Wes in Grants Pass, Oregon, let's see you.
Well, I did climb Mount Whitney when I was in high school. That wasn't as tall as Long Peak, but it was pretty high up there. Probably the craziest thing I did was when I had to go fix a surveillance system in a bank, and it was in Caracas, Venezuela, and they were doing a referendum on Hugo Chavez, and Americans weren't supposed to be there, but I was there. That was probably the most adventurous thing I did, was travel to Caracas, Venezuela, when Americans shouldn't be there. I don't think they should be there now either. Things have not changed. Back to you, Alex. KD6EIR Mobile.
All right, got you down for the Caracas Rockas. Your question is, the first Nike shoes were made with A, vulcanized rubber, B, a waffle iron, or C, child labor in China, just like today. What do you think there, Wes?
Well, I have a story from another ham who helped them blinking lights in the soul in third world countries with the slave labor and methyl ethyl ketone as a solvent with no protection at all. But that's not the answer. The answer is the waffle iron. Because you got to realize, Alex, I'm from Oregon, and that's where they were invented. Nike and the waffle iron, the waffle pattern. He wrecked his wife's waffle making tennis shoes for his college athletes. Back to net control. KD6EIR.
Couldn't pull you on that one, huh? Yeah, it's you're right, the waffle iron. The first Nike shoes were made by using a waffle iron. Designer Bill Bowerman noticed over breakfast that a waffle pattern was just right to make light soles with a good grip And didn't we have shoes as kids? They called them waffle sneakers. Anyway, that's probably where it came from. Thanks, Wes. Got you down. All right. Go back to Scott, N7FGP in Houston. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done other than hosting a net on the other network?
Let's see. I guess probably the most adventurous thing was I've done some aerobatic flying. I took some lessons with Steve Wolf in a Pitts S2A once way back and did a bunch of fun things in the sky. I guess that's kind of adventurous. Ready for a question?
All right, got you down for extreme flying. Your question is, in the Civil War movie Glory, a group of black soldiers are marching past some spectators when one of the spectators lifts up their arm to wave at them. Problem is, the spectator is wearing a digital wristwatch. B, the spectator is wearing an NFL Super Bowl ring. Is OJ there? Or C, the spectator is a Black Lives Matter tattoo on his arm. Which one of those did that guy have on his arm?
I don't know. Let's go with A. Thanks for doing the net tonight. N7FGP.
Yeah, nicely done, Scott. Yeah, it's not the weirder ones this time. The guy was wearing a digital wristwatch, and he's waving at the troops going by, and it's the Civil War, and, well, I guess I go back further than I thought, but, yep, don't you love these continuity errors in movies? Thanks, buddy. Let's go to Bob in Sylvania, Ohio, WD8PIC. Hey, Bob, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Let me turn my, there we go, turn my second receiver down. Well, flying a four-seater, I can't remember if it was a Cessna or a Piper Cub, but I had an instructor. But what I didn't know until I landed was that he took me down to within about 20 feet of the runway. And my dad was with me, and he didn't say anything because he didn't want to spoil my fun. But he thought, is this guy gonna make Bob land this thing? Well, it was fun. I was doing all kinds of interesting maneuvers, and what I didn't know also that was my dad was in the back, so when I was doing all the fun maneuvers, he was getting all the G's. But he was a model airplane builder and flyer. So he had an interest in aviation, so he enjoyed it. Go ahead.
And didn't your ears pop when you got too low? That would kind of give it away. Of course, you'd have to drop really fast for that to happen. That probably didn't work that way, but that's kind of cool. Oh, your question, Bob, is, another movie continuity error. In the World War II movie Battle of Britain, an Israeli pilot is listed as taking part in the battle. Wait, what? A, Israelis at the time had no air combat training. B, Israel would never attack Great Britain, an ally. Or C, the state of Israel wasn't founded until after World War II.
I will go with Charlie. And that would have been fun if I had sight to see that other question with a digital watch. And I wonder if the one person experienced a cave-in. I'm being silly. Living in 24 hours of darkness. WD8PIC, back to net control.
Okay, we take silly on this net. And you're correct. Yeah, it's Israel wasn't founded until after World War II. So, another continuity error. Thanks. Thank you, Bob. Glad you could make it. Let's go to David, Owensboro, Kentucky, WD9DWH. David, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex and everyone. Well, I've never really flown anywhere in anything. So a couple years ago at our International Barbecue Festival here in Owensboro, there was a private pilot, had a helicopter, and was giving rides for $60 a pop. So I took my third harmonic and her friend up with me, and I was in front, those two were in the back, and of course up front there I could see everything. And of course the pilot had a sense of humor. He was still a student pilot. So I could see all the gauges and everything. While we were up there, I kept seeing a little red light flickering once in a while. I looked over and it said clutch, which I assumed went to the rotor. But I assumed that was normal, and if it wasn't, I didn't ask because I didn't want to know. That was my first time being up in here or anything. Go ahead, Alex.
And then when you got done, you said, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Yep. All right, David, your question is, I got one more of these movie error questions, okay? Western Django Unchained features Jamie Foxx playing a freed slave who turns into a cool cowboy. He's so cool, in fact, A, he carries a semi-automatic pistol 50 years before they were invented. B, he wears a pair of sunglasses 70 years before they were invented. Or C, he snorts cocaine instead of drinking it like everybody else did back then. Which of those is correct, David?
I'll say this is what I get for never turning the TV on. No clue. So I'll just average it out the middle in between the two and say bravo. Thanks for doing it, Alex. Always enjoy it. W9, you betcha.
Yeah, that's it. He's wearing a pair of sunglasses in the late 1800s, and it's a little early. And by the way, people did drink cocaine back then, not only in just Coca-Cola, but other beverages you could get liquid cocaine. Thank you, David. Patrick, Beaverton, Oregon, KI7LAG. Most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex. This is Patrick, KI7LAG. Gosh, of all the things I've done in my life, I think the most adventurous thing was convincing my wife to marry me and decide to share my life with her. And we've been doing that for almost 20 years. So there you go. I'm ready for my question.
What was she thinking, huh? Yeah, and I said about my wife a lot. Your question, Patrick. In 2012, a female Australian art gallery visitor ruined the 19th century statue of Narcissus by A, drawing a mustache on it, B, planting a kiss on the statue's bare behind while she was wearing lipstick, or C, traveling in a fried-out combi on a hippie trail head full of zombie. Which would it be?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go with B, Bravo. That one would sound pretty interesting. B, Bravo. KI7LAG, back to that.
Now, I don't know if her head was full of zombie when she did this, but she planted a kiss on the statue's bare behind with the lipstick, and apparently the lipstick, the chemicals in it, was not good for the statue and caused some damage. They couldn't get it off, so... of course, I had that happen to me once. All right, thanks, Patrick. Let's go to Lynn in Houston, KI5WWU. Lynn, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Good evening, Alex. Thanks for running the net. You and Vicky, KI5WW. In addition to all the low-hour private pilot shenanigans that have been mentioned before, I guess the craziest thing for me was when I was with Deloitte, I got sent to Sao Paulo, Brazil, to Embraer to go review a bunch of their leases after some change. And since I was also a USSF soccer level 8 referee, and once they figured that out, they asked me to call an intramural game out there between their legal group and their accounting group. And so I called one of my buddies back in Houston. I said, give me the 5 magic words in Portuguese. I need to throw somebody out. Otherwise, let's see what happens. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, but that's right. Some people don't know they speak Portuguese in Brazil, so it's well, that was, of course. Oh, that's right. It's still run by the anyway. I guess we won't go there. Too political. All right, Lynn. Your question is: men who live in Ringaskiddy. Yep, that's her real town's name. Ireland, home of the Pfizer pharmaceuticals plant that makes Viagra, say they are experiencing A, trouble breathing due to emissions from the plant, B, trouble sleeping due to emissions from the plant, or C, constant rhymes with elections due to emissions from the plant.
I'm going to go with Bravo, but great. So I'll go with Bravo. Back to you, KI5WW.
Yeah. No, the men who live in Ringaskiddy, Ireland, home of Pfizer Pharmaceuticals Viagra plant, say they are experiencing C, constant rhymes with elections, emissions from the plant. Now, Pfizer claims the town is just experiencing a mass placebo effect. You could make good money on that. But local residents and 4 out of 5 doctors disagree. Yeah, they okay, thanks. Appreciate that. Chris, okay, let's go to Christopher in Lumberton, Texas, KJ5JXV. KJ5JXV, a new check-in, Christopher in Lumberton, Texas. Okay, maybe later. We're almost done. We have one more on this, and we'll call for some more. Justin in Conroe, Texas, KJ5J&J. What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
KJ5JNJ, and I do appreciate you doing the net there, Alex. I really do appreciate the way you do it. I have a lot of fun, and last week I was cracking up. Anyway, you know, I was trying to think about it. I jumped off some, I jumped off some pretty high rocks out in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. That was kind of adventurous, and except the water was pretty clear, so I could see what was down there. That's what gave me the confidence. So I'm going to say I got to fly an airplane without having any training or preparation at all. That was pretty adventurous. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But thank you again, and hello to everybody out there. Great to hear people on the net. KJ5JNJ, back to you, sir.
And thank you for that, Justin. Glad you could make it tonight. Your question is, babies are born without this: A, kneecaps, B, Adrenal, or C, Mark of the Beast. Although I'm not too sure about my youngest grandchild. What do you say, Justin?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with B, Bravo. And thanks again.
Yeah, this is kind of strange. Babies are born without, kneecaps. Yeah, no kneecaps. Which is probably a good thing. As big as a kid as I was, it had been really difficult for my mother. I had kneecaps too, but yeah, they come out and kneecaps form later. So it's amazing how nature works. Anyway, thanks again, Justin. Taking more check-ins for the Saturday Night Trivia Net. Full call sign phonetically twice, please.
Kilo November 6, Juliet Lima X-ray. Kilo November 6, Juliet Lima X-ray and whiskey.
Kilo India 7, Zulu Romeo India. Kilo India 7, Zulu Romeo India, Don in Kennewick.
Kilo Echo 2, Charlie X-ray Quebec. KE2CXQ, Wayland, New York.
Okay, I picked up Stephanie Larry in Elk Grove, KN6 Alex and KN6 LW. KI70, Don in Kennewick, Washington, and the last station, could you repeat your call sign again, please?
Kilo Echo 2, Alpha Lima Uniform. KE2ALU. Kurt, and I'm in Lacey, New Jersey.
Okay then. I think I got everybody. KE2ALU, Kurt. In Manchester Township, you're showing as, but we know who you really are. All right. Question of the night: what's the most adventurous thing you've done? Stephanie and Larry. Hey guys, glad you could make it. What say you? Was that Stephanie or Larry?
Hey Alex, sorry we had technical difficulties earlier and lost our note. Stephanie says she doesn't have anything adventurous, but I disagree. She said no comment. My most idiotic adventure was probably when I was 16. I got my first Volkswagen, made it into a Baja Bug, and me and a buddy tried to drive it to Alaska, and we made it as far as I can't remember exactly where. But we made it about 7/8 of the way up, and then blew my engine, and spent a week in a campground rebuilding the engine so we could. And my sister had to wire me money, and that was a feat back then. So go ahead with our question.
Yeah, that puts a damper on the trip, doesn't it? But that's I gotta admire your spirit for at least attempting it. I did the same thing in the U.S., only in the 50 and a car that probably shouldn't have tried it. But anyway, it's a similar situation. All right, your question is, okay, children born via cesarean section are more likely, A, to develop minor infections as a child, B, to grow up faster than other children, or C, to leave the house by going out the window. What do you say?
We're both going to go with Alpha. Thanks for doing the net, Alex. KN6JLX, back to net.
Yeah, that's it. The other Yeah, more likely to develop minor infections as a child, but they get over that, so that's good. Thanks, guys. Glad you could make it. Don, Kennewick, Washington, KI7ZRI. What's the most adventurous thing you've done? This ought to be good.
Hey, Alex, and everyone on net, this is Don, KI7ZRI. I probably will disappoint you there, Alex, but Dorothy and I, we lived in Chicago for about 10 years, which I hated, but I had a good gig at Motorola, but also I hated. So one day I just decided, and I got a job in Canada, and we moved to Canada, to Vancouver, which was great. So I'm not sure if that's exciting or not. But anyway, I think that's probably the most adventurous thing I did. I think the most adventurous thing Dorothy did was to hook up with me, KI7ZRI.
Yeah, that's a challenge, Dorothy. Way to go. All right, your question. Your question, guys. Why do goosebumps exist? Why do you get goosebumps? A, to slow down speeding geese. B, they make the hair on our bodies stand up. Or C, as hairy as others, but which at one time made us look more threatening to predators. So we have more in common with house cats than you might think. Thanks, guys. Glad you could make it. Curtis, Manchester Township, NJKE2AOU. What's the most adventurous thing you...
KE2ALU. The most interesting thing I've done, there's too many to mention, and yeah, the most interesting thing I can't talk about. So sorry there. This is a great net. This is the second time I checked in. I'm surprised it's the same question. Back to you.
Well, I don't think it's the same question. We try to do different ones every time. Now, what's the most adventurous thing you've done? You bungee jumped out of an airplane, walked across the street for a pack of cigarettes, whatever. What was it?
I'll go with this one. I walked into a store. I was walking to a store. We have these stores. They're called Quick Checks. They were milk stores, basically. And I went over and I got the milk. And I walked up to the counter, and they were asking me, you got a good look at the guy with the gun? And I'm like, well, no, I didn't. The store was being held up. There was a guy with a gun at the cash register, and I walked right past him, oblivious to the fact that the store was being robbed. So I don't know if that's adventurous, but it's amusing.
Oh yeah, that counts. Glad you weren't injured or shot in the robbery. That's good. That's good, Kurt. Thanks. All right, your question is, while wearing a Barney the Dinosaur costume at a 1993 Christmas party, this politician said, "They don't call me Tyrannosaurus Rex for sex for nothing." Let me clean that up. They don't call me Tyrannosaurus Rex for nothing. Who was that? A, Bill Clinton, B, Ted Kennedy, or C, Nancy Pelosi? Who said that?
A.
A good guess, but it actually was Ted Kennedy that said that. So May he rest in peace. Thanks, thank you, Curtis. All right, taking more check-ins, Starnight TrueNet. By the way, this is W7FTM in Scottsdale, Arizona. You're listening to the Starnight TrueNet on the East Coast Reflector. Come down with your call sign, phonetically twice, please.
Kilo Oscar 4, Victor Tango Juliet. Kilo Oscar 4, Victor Tango Juliet, Gilbert.
WW4 November Echo Whiskey. Whiskey 4 November Echo Whiskey. Mike, South Florida.
Okay, then picked up two more. Gilbert in Orlando, Florida. Welcome back to the KO4VT and WW4. Mike in Pines, Florida. Welcome back, guys. Question of the night: what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? What say you, Gilbert?
Good evening, Alex, and good evening, everyone on the net. Well, the most adventurous thing I've done, I'd say, was around 2002. I was chatting with this girl that I had met online, and I had access at the time to a buddy pass. A friend of mine worked at an airline that had access to a buddy pass, and the girl that I was talking to lived in New Zealand. Well, I decided like a week after I had started talking to her that I was going to go, and I just showed up one day, and I ended up hanging out with her for about a month, going out every single day, traveling throughout the South Island, doing all kinds of stuff, and yeah, it worked out great. Eventually I came back, she was here one time, and I got dumped shortly after that. But anyways, I'm ready for my question.
Gilbert, got you down. Yeah, they call that stalking these days, but I know in the past it was called love, and now it shouldn't be stalking. Anyway, your question is, okay, I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Was that quote by A. Mahatma Gandhi, B. Thomas Jefferson, or C. Winston Churchill?
Well, that one's tough. I'm going between B and C. Let's go ahead and go with Bravo. Although it could have been said by Churchill, but it sounds like a very cool, patriotic American thing to say. So let's go with Bravo.
Nice going, Gilbert. Yeah, that was Jefferson all the way. Churchill may have said something like that, but he didn't really mean it. Jefferson did. Thanks. You got it, buddy. All right, Mike, Pembroke Pines, Florida, WW4NEW. What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Myself and some friends used to rappel into old riverbed canyons in southwest Texas to hunt rattlesnakes. It was quite profitable. We'd sell the hides to boot makers and belt makers.
You heard those poor little snakes. Do you know what good they do for the environment? Yeah, I know. Probably heard that before. All right, Mike, your question is, the New Year's Eve ball drop in New York originally featured A, naked woman jumping out of a cake, B, cases of dynamite being set off, or C, a catered banquet that featured a large bagel slowly lowered into a giant vat of cream cheese. What was the New Year's Eve ball drop celebration?
I got to guess at this one. I'll go with B. Have no idea. B sounds fine.
Yeah, they knew how to celebrate in the old days, didn't they? Yeah, cases of dynamite were set off. Not just individual sticks of dynamite, cases of dynamite to celebrate New Year's Eve. Now, that's a celebration. Thanks, Mike. All right, taking more check-ins. Full, this may be the last one. Full call sign, phonetically twice, please. Come now. Try it again. Full call sign, phonetically twice, please. All right, then. I think it's time to call it a night. Let's see how we did tonight. Is someone trying to check in? Give it one more shot. Alrighty then, we had 34 people checking in tonight, and of those people who checked in, 24 people got their question correct, and only 8 people missed their question tonight. That's, I think it's almost a record for us. And as far as the question of the night, of course they were all over the place, but believe it or not, extreme flying in some lead, followed by extreme skiing or skiing adventures, so not too bad. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody who participated tonight, with special thanks to Kevin V3. Even though he was feeling under the weather, thank you for doing that, Kevin. And N7OKN John for use of his Mesa, Arizona ECR repeater. We now return control of the East Coast Reflector back to you until next week at the same time, when the control voice will take you to the Saturday Night Trivia. 73W7 FTM clear. Good night.